Buongiorno a tutti. Thanks for joining me again in my little kitchen here in Lecce in the south of Italy. My name is Francesco and today I'm going to make a pasta bake using one of my favourite pastas, which is Anelletti Siciliani. Unfortunately, if you live in the States or in England, you're going to think of these as spaghetti loops, which you are used to seeing sold in cans that usually end up being a children's food with a nasty artificial, not real tomato sauce. This is nothing like that. This is the traditional Sunday pasta in Palermo, where you'd add any of the things you had left over from the week, like different kinds of salamis or ham, different cheeses. You can mix them all in and you bake this together with a nice breadcrumb crusty. I'm going to do a very simple version today, which is also very old school. I'm going to do the sauce only using tomato puree with some salsiccia, that's Italian sausage, some carrot, celery and onion to start the sauce, some garlic and bay leaf and a little bit of oregano just to make sure it's really intense and flavorful. I'm going to have some melting cheese. You always have to have peas in this. There's going to be breadcrumbs and parmesan on top to give a great crust. It's going to be a lovely dish. So I hope you enjoy the recipe. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, come back and follow me for more. Let's cook. For today's recipe you are going to need anelletti, salsiccia, peas, carrot, celery, onion, tomato puree, cheese, I'm using Galbanino, bay leaf, garlic, oregano, basil, grated parmesan and breadcrumbs. We need to begin by making what we call a sofrito in Italian. This is the flavor base for many sauces and soups, which consists of carrot, celery and onion. You're going to need half of a medium onion, a small carrot and just a small piece of celery, finely chopped. Normally this dish would be very rich with lots of other ingredients like ham, hard-boiled eggs, different cheeses, and it's a kind of treat that you'd make for the family on a Sunday. Being as I live alone, I made a very simple version just for myself today, 2 portions in all. As with most of my recipes, quantities are not important, the method is. They're all the kinds of things that you can easily judge by eye. This kind of cheese is called Galbanino. It has a wax coating which I have just removed. Cut it into small cubes and set it to one side for later. You can also use a caciocavallo or even a mozzarella to replace this. Break the salsiccia into small pieces straight out of the skin, right into your saucepan. There's no need to add any oil because the fat will soon start to render out of the sausage itself. Stir it until the fat starts to seep out and it begins to gain a little bit of colour. After a couple of minutes you can add the sofrito, the carrot, celery and onion. Stir this in well and get it cooking together nicely for 3 or 4 minutes. Season with salt and pepper to taste. After 4 or 5 minutes, add the garlic and the bay leaf. I didn't add these earlier because I didn't want them to burn. At this point, you can add 3 or 4 tablespoons of tomato puree. Stir this in well so that it gets some good heat from the base of the pan before you mix it into the other ingredients. I'm making this sauce the old-fashioned way using only tomato puree. This is a recipe that dates back to the time after the war, and although it may be a very modest way to make a tomato sauce, it also tastes very good. It's concentrated real tomato flavor. Add a little water, a little at a time, until you get the sauce to the right consistency. Next, for the aromatics, add a teaspoon of dry oregano and a couple of leaves of basil, which you snap up straight into the sauce. Add a pinch of sugar and you have all of your ingredients together. Stir the sauce well, cover and let it cook for at least an hour. After an hour or so, you can set your water on to boil and check the sauce. At this point, you can remove the garlic and the bay leaf as they will have done their work. Now that the sauce is nice and aromatic and practically cooked, we can add the peas. Add them at this late point so that they retain their sweetness and taste best. Make sure your pasta water is well salted and add the pasta. Normally, this kind of pasta takes 15 minutes or so to boil. I'm going to cook mine for just a little bit more than 10 minutes so that it's very al dente. While the pasta is boiling, of course, let the sauce simmer away and cook also. Remember, the pasta is going to be baked in the oven, so you don't want to cook it fully before you start to put your dish together, otherwise it will overcook. Add a little bit more water to the sauce if necessary. It has been cooking for almost 2 hours now, so it's reduced down quite a bit. It's going to be totally delicious by this point. Once your pasta is cooked enough, drain it and get ready to assemble. Spoon a few ladles of sauce straight into the pasta and get that well mixed in so that everything is nice and saucy from the get-go. Next, you want to lightly oil your baking dish and sprinkle it with breadcrumbs. Get these well distributed over the base to prevent the pasta from sticking. Start off by adding a layer of tomato sauce to the bottom of your dish. Spread this out a little and add your first layer of pasta. Spread it out nice and flat and then proceed with the other ingredients. Your chopped up cheese, next, sprinkle lightly with breadcrumbs, Parmesan cheese and grind with some black pepper to taste. More sauce, spread this out evenly, and then add a second layer of pasta on top. Make sure to spread the pasta out nice and evenly, covering everything, and then begin with the final layer of toppings. Cover the top with the remaining diced cheese, the remaining sauce, plenty of it. Make sure to spread it all over the top and get everything nice and moist. Pat it down flat and then give it a nice dusting of breadcrumbs. Coat the whole of the surface. Add a nice sprinkle of parmesan and a little dusting of oregano. A light drizzle of olive oil and you're ready to bake. Bake in a preheated oven at 180 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes until it's golden brown, bubbling and scorching hot, and looks something a little bit like this. And doesn't that just look wonderful? But it is scorching hot. It's got that wonderful crust on top and you won't be able to resist. But still, you're going to need to wait 10 to 15 minutes before you can enjoy it. And don't worry, as you can see, it's still steaming hot after 15 minutes. And the cheese is melty and absolutely gorgeous. Buon appetito!